Hello and welcome back to the CSL. I am Joe. I'm joined here tonight by Zombie Grub, and we are getting ready to hop into our third match here in the round of 8. How are you feeling tonight?
Oh, I'm pretty good. Excited to cast some continued round of 8s as we have another very strong team with one particularly strong player in today's lineup, which of course is Suppy, who will be casting literally right now.
So without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump into this game. Spawning here in the... Oh, my game is not capturing for some reason. There we go.
It might take a second, yeah. I don't know why it does that.
Spawning here in the top left-hand corner in the red, it is Suppy.
In the bottom right has the pink Zerg. It is Mr. Sherty coming out for University of Washington.
So these are interesting teams. Temple has two really strong players in Suppy and Tesla. They have a decent amount of depth with Tugboat and Centaur Raw both being Masters players, and just being the kind of like average, decently high-level players you see in CSL. University of Washington has Zeal, who's probably their ace, and he's a really good player. And I actually don't know too much about kind of like their bench spots, their fill-out players. So I'm curious to see if these guys will be able to rise against Temple, because Temple got second in the CSL last year with a pretty similar caliber lineup.
Yeah, I mean, not to be rude or anything, I feel like Temple StarCraft has got this. I guess that's the name of their group. The other name, University of Washington's name was Husky StarCraft, which would get confusing. So I'm gonna go with Temple University. I feel like they've got this. I mean, Suppy obviously as potential ace kind of like solidifies things in there. Even though he doesn't play as much as he used to, he just never really got too out of shape. I mean, for being what used to be a top tier caliber player years ago, there's only ever so much I feel that they actually lose their skill. And he's been back at it for like a year at this point, kind of playing on and off, attending tournaments. And then Tesla's very good, and yeah, Centaur had some pretty good games. I remember seeing him. So I compare that to the other team, University of Washington's team, and it's like, it just seems like it's a little, well, besides literally more star-studded, Suppy being the star, it also just seems like overall stronger, where Zeal would really have to like really outperform my expectations to like bring it on the ace match, and then that would also mean that they have to get to the ace match too, right? So I feel like this really should really be tough, and it's a single elimination. So, you know, if University of Washington can't do it, then they're just out.
Yeah, and it's really interesting. I think Temple is probably the strongest team here in the CSL. One thing that we've talked a lot about was last year they had Rays, who ended up transferring schools. If they had Suppy, Tesla, and Rays, I think we'd probably see like not a single drop map in the entire CSL, but I think sometimes it's almost healthier for you not to have a team that's quite so dominant. So they're going to have to fight for things. They're going to have to earn it. And Sherty is starting things off with getting this scout here.
He gets a scout, but I mean, what he's scouting is very typical Zerg, but what Suppy, if he was scouting, would see is actually someone playing very, very, very greedy, like absurdly greedy. Okay, no, actually that's on the Roach Warren. I thought it was going to go for just a simple like 2-base layer with a Spire, like pretty much the greediest thing you could do, but he does let down the Roach Warren. There's usually an Evolution Chamber along with this as well, and you start walling off that front. It's actually not greedy, it's quite safe, but I feel like the order of operations here, I mean, okay, now the Evolution Chamber is coming down. I don't know, it seems a little bit off. Whereas, of course, Suppy is, as I said, like the normal thing he's doing is like pretty on point. Only a couple of lings here. He sees there's no speed. He's got his third base down on backwater, which seems like a good idea. And he does have to like worry a little bit about like a surprise roach rush. Like, don't just assume they're gonna drone from this. I feel like with the lings still being in here, like that shouldn't be a problem. It is gonna be an Swarm. He's setting down some structure.
Yeah, he actually went to build a Roach Worm there and then canceled. But yeah, it is going to be that Nidus Worm. And I guess that makes a lot of sense, right? You're getting the Roaches, you're getting that super early layer. You've got to put that tech towards something. And Suppy with the Ling there, he can scout this with just like 2 feet of movement.
Good. That's a oversight on Mr. Certe's part, but I mean maybe somebody doesn't move in. But what's going to be key here is that one, the lair was like a little bit earlier. That's what I was like. Wait a minute, this doesn't seem like the macro version. Maybe Supper reads into that, but he can also go ahead and just read into the lack of wiggling, jiggling evolution chambers. Like they should be starting +1 and roach speed, and instead there's nothing going on. Unfortunately, Suppy does not seem to run into this fast enough, as that Nidus Worm's already on the way, and he's still putting drones.
Yeah, Sherty going for a build that
Oh, no.
can be quite deadly here. And Suppy needs to figure out a way to try to stop this. He doesn't have a large army at this moment. The queens and roaches start pouring out. The drone pull is quick, but I don't know if he has any way to try to start shutting this down immediately.
He will have to abandon the main, and then I don't know. It's actually really complicated. There should be more roaches in there. I was gonna say he had a lot more roaches pop out. If it was just 3 roaches and queens, like that's obviously easy enough. But this now with further reinforcements, Suppy is gonna be going up against a concave on the top with a ramp. That's always difficult to do. I guess he lost drones though, so this was already pretty dedicated. It's even more dedicated.
Yeah, Suppy actually going for another run by here. Maybe hoping to force some of these units to come back home for the Nidus Worm, and then it becomes an easier position to break. It does look like both the lair and the spawning pool are going to fall for Suppy, so he's going to be sitting on just roaches here for the foreseeable future. And Mr. Sherty maybe feeling like he can back off that ramp and potentially that he's done enough damage.
I'm really surprised that Mr. Sherty did not further commit to this, because like, while Suppy had the economy and had the reduction, he should also just leave right now. He should just leave. I don't. Okay. All right. Now he leaves. That seemed like a overextension. I also feel like he could have just tried to end the game. I was trying to say that even if Suppy has enough roaches on the way, if you can, go and continue the attack, go to the natural, go to the third, you're jumping all these roaches as they pop out. Suppy, even if he had 20 larvae and enough to make 20 roaches all at once, still would be in some trouble. Instead, Mr. Sherty just stayed in the main, didn't reinforce, and is trying to play this macro game, which actually is not going to go that well for him. Like, even though Suppy lost a main, he still has more workers to fully saturate 2 bases. The same isn't really being said for Mr. Sherty, who now has to wait a long time for his third, I guess. Like, almost equal to Suppy's third, quote-unquote, right? It's his main.
Yeah, I mean, Suppy pulled everything right away, and that kind of helped to minimize the damage here. He has the larger army, the larger worker count, and I think Mr. Sherty's in some trouble as he throws down a third of his own. He's got to play a bit of catch-up or have some kind of crazy follow-up all-in. Maybe off the back of this +2 attack, he can find some chink in the armor of Suppy here.
I guess, yeah, we shouldn't really overlook the fact that Mr. Sherty still has that attack upgrade. There we go. And will thus have like a much better +2, especially if somebody doesn't start his upgrade at all. Okay, just started it. So he's going to have a very, very small +2 timing window, but I'm afraid that, that's in, a minute and a half. By then, Suppy should have had really had the economy long enough that he's been kicking at high gear on the army. So while the army is like even now and the upgrade's super important, a minute and a half from now, when Mr. Sherty really feels comfortable trying to attack, I feel like Suppy's army supply is going to be just so much better. It won't even matter he has an upgrade.
Yeah, and because it's backwater, it's like a bit unfortunate for Mr. Sherty because he has this roach speed so far ahead of Suppy, and on other maps he could try to poke and do damage at those mineral lines and know that he could safely retreat from any kind of roach counterattack of Suppy. But instead he can't really do that. Suppy only has to block one location, and Mr. Sherty would have to commit to some pretty funky maneuvers if he wanted to try to get past this front base without a fight.
Yeah, this actually is looking really, really bad. I mean, again, I questioned it after he didn't fully commit with a Nidus Worm, but there was a potential that Suppy also kind of got disoriented from that attack, but nah, Suppy played it cool as a cucumber. That's the pro gaming experience probably really shining through, even though he was totally 100% unprepared for a Nidus Worm. He evacuated the main, let it die, and knew that he still had a chance, and that ended up being the exact right call, and now it's going to be a numbers game where Mr. Sherty still hasn't gotten to a very appropriate drone count, and also has fallen behind in the army.
Yeah, Mr. Sherty is going to find some overlords here. He can potentially pick down a few for free, but because of the creep spread, these queens are lagging behind even the slow overlords here. And Suppy should be able to evacuate most of them without consequence here.
Yep. Oh, Suppy doesn't want to push in quite yet. Yeah, there's the upgrade finishing for him, so he can stay level at that +1 difference. Although his character's about to finish too, so I guess if he waits 25 more seconds, that will give him a lead. Well, even 1-1, so it's a +2. He could probably push in with that, and with a 20-30 supply lead, an army, that'd probably do it. Or Mr. Sherity, I guess, could try and push in and kind of throw his army away, and then Suppy counterattacks, which seems to be the case. Is Mr. Charity's trying to control the game, which is like kudos to him. He's the one with Roach speed. He should be trying to do this, but it's going to change very quickly.
Yeah, and that Roach speed going to be finishing up in just a few moments here for Suppy, which makes these maneuvers a lot more dangerous for Mr. Sherity. Maybe he's hoping to find an angle where you can get some really terrific corrosive biles, but it's not like Suppy's exactly lagging behind in the Ravager count here. And Mr. Sherity knows that he can't be on this side of the map anymore. He's going to back off. He's even supply blocked at a time in the game when all he wants to do is make army units to try to hang on, defend, and stay alive.
Yeah, that is quite disappointing for him, because with the bank that he has, he also would be maxed out, and Suppy could be moving into an unfavorable position. But Suppy should realize that he doesn't need to throw this this game away here. Well, he had an army supply lead of about 20 just a minute ago. It's really evened up, and the upgrades still being even. Well, he's the one grabbing a 4th base. He's the one actually starting his upgrades, continued upgrades. And well, he's not 100% sure that Mr. Sherity couldn't be doing the same thing. You know, there could be a 4th base about to be planted right now, right here, but the smarter move would be maybe to try and go into those Hydras, get a Lurker Den, but I guess also forcing the issue with Roaches, because he has the better Remax here, could also work out.
Yeah, Mr. Sherity trying to fight into this concave here. Suppy getting the biles off. Some of them do land on top of Mr. Sherity's forces. These Roaches are going to push in, and Mr. Sherity seems to be maybe breaking this, but the concave is just getting better and better for Suppy. All those Roaches shooting at once. The army for Mr. Sherity absolutely disappearing. And behind this big trade, Suppy is just remaxing without breaking a sweat.
Yeah, the Remax is so much better for him. Mr. Shady took a lot of corrosive bile shots. Suppy took a couple too. Like, it wasn't perfect micro on the other side, but I feel like Mr. Sherity took the corrosive biles on the heart of his Ravager army, which just seemed really, really painful. And this is going to be game over pretty soon. Now the supply is just, it's no longer like, well, maybe it's a definitely next time Suppy pushes in, Mr. Sherity is dead.
And here comes that second push. We see the Roaches parading across the map here. Mr. Sherity's army looking pretty paltry compared to the army of Suppy, and Suppy is just looking for that ideal angle to try to engage. I think Mr. Sherity knows it's over, but it's the CSL. We've got 10 grand on the line. You're going to the top 4. You're going to try to make the hold. You don't know how many forces your opponent has behind this. And I got to think as these final few Roaches join up, Mr. Sherity's heart is going to sink, and he knows this game is over.
Yeah, it really sucks. Now you just gotta, be put on the bench and watch your team hopefully bring it through. As I don't believe Mr. Sherity's on the 2v2 team, so GG. Suppy takes game number 1. Not, too surprising, but Mr. Sherity had a really, close call there. The Nidus Storm was a complete surprise. Maybe he could have done more with it. And maybe, if he had taken more advantage of the post-Nidus Storm era, he had the speed, he had the upgrade. Maybe Suppy could have been, I guess, controlled a little bit more, because Suppy didn't have Roach speed. There's no way he was going to move across the map. I feel like Mr. Sherity could have had a really big moment of greed, and I think instead he was always conscious of maybe a counter attack, or maybe thinking maybe I should push in, because he wasn't very greedy behind the Nidus Storm.
Yeah, he didn't take the kind of risks that you really need to take when you're playing a player that is just significantly of a higher caliber than you, like it's usually going to be if you're playing Suppy in the CSL. So don't go anywhere, guys. We're going to be right back with our next game, and that's going to be Tesla versus Zeal, a really important match for this series.
but she said, trust me, these are the stories we will tell. As I stood frozen in
Hello and welcome back to the round of 8, Temple versus University of Washington. Temple leads 1-0 after, I would say, a very decisive win from Suppy against his opponent, Mr. Sherity.
Yeah. I mean, again, Mr. Sherity, like, I think he made the right call in the Nidus Worm. He just should have been, like, extremely greedy behind extreme aggression. But I think he would even agree, right? Like, I'm not making anyone offended, but, like, Suppy is Suppy. No matter how long it's been since the guy has played and he's been dominating in the CSL this entire time, you know it's going to be an uphill battle. So it was an expected result. But this match, I feel, is really where, like, maybe the momentum gets caught up again for University of Washington.
Yeah, well, spawning here in the top right-hand corner, playing for Temple. Can he extend his team's lead to 2-0? It is Tesla.
In the bottom left, so looking to bring back the score to 1-1, bring back the momentum for his team, it is the Pink Protoss Zeal.
Now, this is an interesting one because I would say both these players, like, have been kind of at similar peaks for their, caliber of skill. That nearly challenger level. But Tesla's up and coming, right? He's been making it to the qualifying matches. I don't think he's made it into challenger yet. But he's been making it to those qualifying matches, making it through the bracket. Zeal has kind of fallen off. So even if maybe he's peaked a little bit higher, I don't know how active he is. So I'm curious. Whenever we see him play, I feel like he relies a lot on, like, Blink Stalkers and 8 gates and gateway aggression. And, Tesla's a shenanigan player, so that might not work so hot against him.
Yeah, I mean, PvP's a fun matchup, and I feel like if this was an uneven match, this is actually where potentially something, like, really silly happens and they bring it back. But being kind of an even match, but, various different ways of playing it, that's, like, back just being like, I actually don't know who's going to win this one. It might just come down to, like, styles kind of glancing off each other and whose style really shines brightest. Or maybe it is just, who has been putting in the work, the due diligence, the actual studying. Because, I mean, when you reach round of 8, maybe in the groups in the CSL, you're kind of like, oh, are we really going to get to the finals? Do we really have a shot at all this money? But then you get to the round of 16, you're like, wait a second, you're at round of 8, and you're like, I feel like this is really where, like, doing your due diligence is worth it, even if it's also, like, you're worrying about finals. Like, I get it, they're college students, like, but they're pretty close to the, like, some extreme money, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of these guys are, like, studying their opponent's barcode accounts, right?
I know the Temple guys put some prep in, talked to each other, trained. I'm physically very close to them. They're probably 10 minutes away from me. So I was talking to them a bit about the match tonight. I know they did put some prep and training, and they strategized their group picks a bit more than they normally would. I'm not sure how much thought University of Washington's put into this, but it's going to be interesting to see these two go at it because I think they're both players that are a lot of fun to watch and kind of flashy in their own different ways.
Yeah. Speaking of flashy, Zeal did recall his probe from the main once he knew it was going to die, so that was always pretty cool to see. Apparently, I still refuse to believe it, even if there's cold, hard facts. I'll take it to my grave, that recalling is actually more cost-efficient than just using your chrono and letting the probe die, but whatever. It also has the cool factor to it. And this does not go well for Tesla. It is going to be a Stargate versus Twilight Council scenario, which might turn a little awkward. Oh, I was going to say, if Tesla's going to go for a Phoenix style, it's one thing to go with Phoenix and almost guaranteed get a couple of probes because they open up with a Robo or they open up with an Oracle. But when they open up just right into Blink, like that time where the Phoenix should be doing damage and not dying themselves is just so much smaller.
Yeah, did he actually... No, he did let that first Phoenix complete here. I think Tesla might have caught a whiff of what was going on just with that initial poke and seeing the Stalkers out early, chasing him down. No, he is going to continue the Phoenix production here. And, yeah, like you said, they can get caught super easily here, so I'm a bit worried for him. I do think Zeal, he'll have to do a good job of splitting his units up, obviously. He's defending 2 places, and his Stalker count isn't that high yet. So next steps in terms of how big he wants to go into this are going to be pretty important in figuring out how this goes down.
Oh, man. Tesla's falling over the Twilight Council? I feel really good for Zeal. I mean, nothing's really happened, and there's still a huge potential that Blink Stalkers don't even chase down these Phoenix very well. But like the Tesla open up Phoenix, not even doing anything with them, I feel is already like, yeah, I guess it's only 2 Phoenix, so it makes sense he's waiting for his third. But the chances of doing something seem very low. That's the predicting the future might not go that way. And then at least you can say when they open up with a Stargate, they made out a Robo and get like an Immortal or two, thus kind of negating, not quite, but countering the Blink Stalkers. You go into your own Twilight Council, you now have Phoenix that can sometimes be helpful in direct fights, but other times can look pretty lame against someone, and then they don't have a Blink with them. They're being countered, and Zeal has Blink, you don't. Your Phoenix are low because they've been trying to harass and failing. Like, I don't know if I like this position at all for Tesla, but it's pretty early on, and as I said, nothing's happened, so it's all just kind of theoretical now.
Yeah, I mean, one nice thing for Tesla is that Zeal did make those 2 sentries, and now that the Phoenixes are on this side of the map, it is going to slow down Zeal's push. So by the time they start fighting, I mean, Tesla's going to have his own Blink up. Zeal is now getting charge. If Tesla can see this Twilight Council researching and see the Blink, he's going to know that this is going to be a pretty committed gateway attack.
Well, Zeal's on his third, and regardless of his intent, like if he didn't want to try and control the map with his stalkers, then that's fine. Simply defending against 3 Phoenix seems okay. I think knowing that it is just 3 Phoenix and now just simply 2, maybe going on to 1, might be a good sign to kind of maneuver around the map. He's not decided to do that. A third base is fine as well. I mean, the point is, in my eyes, he seems to be getting to the better composition, right? Because no one's building an Immortal count. If it was Immortals, 5 Immortals or 0 Immortals when they had Charlie, that's where I'm like, well, Immortals are pretty good too, but it's literally this like Twilight Council tech that is later for one person, much faster for another. And Tesla has the armor supply right now. If he isn't able to break this base, well, that could actually be, I mean, not game ending, but maybe game deciding. And going right to it, I think, is the best bet. He's gonna go and get that cancel, and that's good. Now he can put down his third and at least have that much faster.
Yeah, Zeal is debating. I think he's probably just gonna let this fall. Cancel does go down. So Tesla did at least get the cancel off. That means his own third base is gonna be a little faster than that of his opponents. And now he does feel like he can maybe put a bit of pressure on the front with this Blink.
Guardian Shield's pretty good. And then he doesn't... I guess his Phoenix have been scouting, so he probably knows there's not really an Immortal here. But there are about to be a lot of charge lots. So pushing up that with the Shield Battery with the Guardian Shield, it was not something he could really do. Simply taking control over the game and getting his faster third would be like A+ thumbs up work if Zeal didn't have what could possibly be a very, very, very good Zealot attack soon. Getting an Immortal now, but I feel like a War Prism will come up. No, second Immortal.
Tesla is adding on a Robo Bay behind this. So I'm curious to see which way he goes with that. Potentially some Disruptors coming in here. And he is going to see these first Zealot Warpins come down. So if he's prodding up in here, he might see charge revealed. He might have an idea of what's coming his way, but he's backing off a bit, so he could end up being completely blindsided by this.
Yeah, Zeal might not be attacking this the time that I thought he would, but he's getting there. Waiting for the 2 Immortals, and being really quite worried about this push, which I guess he should have been. There was a lot of stalkers. Now he's ready to go, and it is still a very scary push, but Tesla buying this time for Disruptors is like absolutely crucial. If he waits 30 more seconds and is like, wait, Disruptors sound like a good idea, or he tried to get his own charge, which is, would be a lot later than Zeal, that's backward where I'm worried for him. But I think the Disruptor tech, he's going to be up to 3, maybe 4 by the time Zeal really pushes across the map. Zeal also doesn't have the +1 timing that maybe he could have. This actually looks like Tesla is going to be totally fine in the defense, as long as Disruptors don't totally whiff.
Yeah, he is still sharking around with these Blink Stalkers. I mean, recall is an option, right? So it's a little bit less dangerous here. And he may actually force Zeal home once again, or force a cancel out on this third. That's going to be a tough decision out of Zeal, because he's already halfway across the map here.
Yeah, I think Zeal should just go for it. It's actually... I feel like he goes for it. He has a good shot, but with the Disruptors, now I'm like, wait a second, maybe he doesn't. He's going to see the Disruptors now. I thought maybe he was going to try and pounce on them, but then he lets his Zealots do that. And this is all types of weird, because obviously Tesla wasn't paying attention initially either, and Tesla actually is the one that recalls.
Yeah, now Tesla is going to have all these Stalkers to help out with the defense, but they're not fighting with the Disruptors. They're not acting as any kind of defensive screen, and this is a really awkward fight for Tesla, who's going to try to flank with some of these Disruptors and maybe get a money hit.
Yeah, the Zealots can be like really dangerous with the Disruptors because if they miss somehow, and it's really hard to miss nowadays with the new Disruptors, they contact instantly. But hey, if there's good micro, right? Then like one Zealot versus 6 is a big deal. But they got some really great shots on the Zealot warp-ins and Zeal. Unfortunately, I feel like he might have had this really awesome timing, but he wasn't like very like pro gamer crisp with it. So Tesla had the time to get to 4 Disruptors, obviously a huge deal, and then also some really good positioning, good decision making. And that's big news. Like this was going to be maybe the decider match, even though it's not the ace match, but amongst the guys that can really like change the tides, I felt like Zeal was going to be the one. And now he's down in this game.
Yeah, I think in just about any of Washington's like kind of viable paths to victory, Zeal is picking up as many maps as humanly possible. Just because they don't have that star-star lineup like you were talking about earlier. They have Zeal, that's their ace player, and I don't know how they win if Zeal can't pick up both maps. Like, even then, if he can't pick up his first map, or if he picks up the first map, that's no guarantee that they're going to beat Temple. But it almost seems like they really needed that, and suddenly Zeal's in a super awkward position.
Yeah. Yeah, I did give the 2v2, as far as I remember, it can be a little shady sometimes, that, like, even though Tesla's very good, I thought Shelazurg and Garage were pretty good, but anyways, now it's like, well, Zeal not bringing back the momentum, the morale may be a little low, and he's going to try again. He's actually not giving up, so maybe I shouldn't speak too soon because the supply is still pretty good, the army supply, but he doesn't really have an answer to these Disruptors. Simply trying to get a concave against 4 Disruptors is still going to net them some decent hits.
Yeah, he's doing a good job of poking up here, trying to bait out those Disruptor hits, and Tesla's letting himself get pinned in a little bit. With the Disruptors, he has room to do that. And only a couple active Disruptor shots left here. Zeal thinks this is his moment to go for it.
It's a little awkward as things get at close quarters. The Disruptors actually do end up only targeting a handful of the units, not really the heart of Zeal's army, but it looks like it's still going to be good enough. The 3 shield batteries really made it maybe even easy here as Tesla still has a couple warpins of his own and an upgrade advantage, but Zeal almost brought it through.
Yeah, that last juicy Disruptor hit just rubbing salt in the wounds as Temple moves on to a clean 2-0 win thanks to Tesla.
Yeah. I think that was good use of Blink Stalkers. I really felt like Tesla just got the worst end of the openers. Phoenix didn't do anything. Stalker was so much later. And even though he canceled a third, I felt like Zeal was almost to that like perfect 8 gate or whatever he had, Zealot, Archon time with +1 because he had like enough of an advantage with the upgrade that it could have been a timing. And he just kind of meandered. He took the Blink Stalker threat really seriously, waited for 2 Immortals like, oh man. I wonder if he had just gone with a Warp Prism immediately with Charge Light Archon and whatever Stalkers he had, if that would have been good enough.
Yeah, well, Zeal is probably asking himself that same question, but don't go anywhere because we are going to be right back with our 2v2 match.
Light falls lightly.
Hello and welcome back to CSL. Temple leads 2-0 in the round of 8 here, and we're going to what could be our final match of the evening if they can cinch things out in this 2v2.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. I 100% didn't consider it. I just was already predicting like the next, and then maybe not the ace match, but maybe even the ace match, since there was not the 100% Terran that I believe maybe a actually who would be like who's like the best Terran in CSL? I think a really fun Protoss. I think a really good Zerg, obviously with Suppy, but actually I just can't think of any Terran right now.
Probably the Riddler, honestly.
Really? Okay. Well, there you go. So something like that, maybe. But anyways, we're in the 2v2, so let's get to the introductions then.
Spawning down here in the bottom left-hand corner, playing for Temple, it is the red Protoss Tesla. And the orange Zerg player, Tugboat.
In the top right, it is the blue Zerg Lamb Sauce. And his partner, the blue Terran Garage Door. So they are coming out for University of Washington. They're their team's last hope here. They got to win this one to take it to the next game, bring back, the reverse kill. And yeah, we have seen these guys before. I said Shalil Zerg, or however you pronounce it, because that's what he is on the CSL web page. But Lamb Sauce, I remember that just 2 weeks ago. I think I was casting him. I do believe it was him, because I remember thinking, man, that sounds really delicious.
That's like the tzatziki sauce, I assume, right? Like the...
I guess it would be, like, but I actually don't like tzatziki sauce, and I maybe like less like it.
Like the white sauce from like Halal Guys?
No, you're totally 100% correct. I think you would put that on like a hero, right?
Yeah,
but
that's what I think of when I think of lamb.
I guess I was thinking of like some fancy French dinner where it's like a jellied lamb sauce, or I don't know.
Like the mint jelly.
Yeah,
I remember my mom used to eat that at Easter. But like I'd feel like, ooh, this is weird. Jelly shouldn't be mint.
I don't think I've ever had it, but it sounded really delicious in my head.
Well, so this map I actually like a lot more than Shrines of Lizzle, which we've seen a lot lately. Just because you have kind of the natural backdoor base. It's a little easier to help your teammate out, and then you have the third bases that are maybe a little bit easier to defend with a big shared ramp that you can kind of wall off and set up a concave or defensive position. It lets you play a little more normal than Shrines of Lizzle, which I feel like is just one base versus one base, and let's pounce on someone before his teammate can get an army up that can reinforce.
I mean, Shrines of Lizzle is just like a Kappa map, man. Like, it's like you decided to let the players play on Scrap Station in 1v1. Like, you're kind of like subtly trolling. You're like, no, seriously, like, it's gonna make like really fun games. And it's like, you're not wrong, but also that's really mean. So that's, I'm not a fan of the shrines being in the map pool, because it does make really fun scenarios. It just is kind of cruel, I feel. Because you're already playing a certain style for 2v2, and then you like have to be forced to really play a certain style to a small map 2v2. On Overgrown Facility, you can play a little bit more to almost a 1v1 scenario, where you're like, okay, I can get my 3 bases, kind of decide how my competition is going to look, but I have to worry about being attacked. But it's not 100%. This is not a shared ramp, like, in the full 100% technical term. If someone did want to kind of be really aggressive towards like Lamb Sauce, for instance, usually it's a Zerg that gets sticked over in 2v2, right? Then they could totally do that. And Garage Door might have just had been like, sorry, bro. And it's like, Tesla's trying, he's looking, maybe something's here, but not. They both are expanding.
Yeah, and Tugboat is going to follow this up with a couple of lings, and maybe this is enough to bully Lamb Sauce into making some extra lings. The point of this is not to kill their opponent or anything, but it's going to make him scared. He can pick off some slow lings here, maybe get some drones. It's 3 Adepts, so units will fall quickly as long as there's good micro and positioning out of this.
This is really scary. 2 Adepts, not a problem. 2 Adepts with the lings, but then it's 4 Adepts, and now more lings flooding through. The Billioness isn't quite done. The Billioness would have been so helpful for Lamb Sauce. It would have helped with both of these compositions, but now Garage Door's got to get in here with the Cyclone, and that is very helpful. But if Daddy Tugboat was reinforcing with lings with Tesla, or Garage, no. Heartbeats. This is so confusing with the the names and the colors, guys, on the website. Anyways, if you're reinforcing with lings, it's gonna be different, but not so. Oracle gets in. Mr. It's already done. Very nice call from Garage Door.
Yeah, but this is a nice micro. These adepts really got their value, I feel. And even getting a scout out here, the turrets are going to shoo that Oracle away. And this attack is just about over, and no one took too much damage here.
No. Well, let's say our purple and Zerg players didn't, but Tesla and not Daddy Tugboat and Heartbeats, just keep that page open. Tesla and Heartbeat are both they dedicated a bit to that, And while Heartbeat did get a third base up and Tesla's on 2 bases, it was a solid chunk of their army supply to be pretty hardcore denied. It's only a slight heart attack for Lamb Sauce, probably.
Yeah, so it looks like they're going to be following this up with Blink out of Tesla here, and that's going to be a pretty powerful attack. Tugboat moving into the Roaches to try to add some meat shield to that army. And this looks like the kind of composition you want to go for when you want to keep being aggressive.
Ooh. Be very careful about the Banelings. Oracle does tangle with the Cyclone and actually takes him out. Nice defense here. It's like Tesla going into that Blink. Another Oracle. Maybe cheek with the Oracle count. Garage Door going for Bio. Lamb Sauce, he got like this relatively quick lair. All things considered, but just for the Roach speed. Accidental triple forge. Oh, yeah, accidental triple forge. He's going for double forge back on the Protoss side of the base.
Yeah, Tugboat's going up to the Hydra Den. He's going to add a lot of DPS to his army with that, and the +1 range. And the Roaches here. And
double Roach Warren accident. I'm gonna assume it was. Anyways. No tunneling claws for him, because that could have been what it was for, I suppose. But Roaches to Roach, and then Blink Stalker to regular Bio. This is actually making things a little bit easier, I feel, for Garage Door. Sometimes there's really that conundrum of, like, do you go Bio or Mech, and then do you go for tanks or Widow Mines? Tanks kind of have taken over the matchups, I guess, multiple, but maybe versus Protoss, you would have preferred the Widow Mines. I don't know. Going for tanks against Roaches makes sense. Going for tanks against Stalkers actually makes a lot of sense. And if Garage Door just goes Bio with a couple of Marauders, because that's also the question, do I go Mass Marine or do I go some Marauders? He can go for triple Marauder even and probably have a very solid composition. He goes for Widow Mines, which is not what I wanted to see, but it's okay, as long as it's some type of splash.
Yeah, Tugboat's actually adding on that Lurker Den, so I think we might be settling in for one of the longer games of 2v2 here in the CSL. And I mean, Overgrown Facility lets you do that, like we were saying. You get the chance to take the map. You can even get to split map positions. These Lurkers can be pretty powerful in the correct positions here. And backdoor attack coming out of Tugboat.
And Overgrown Facility really, especially as you continue expanding, suddenly you're literally jumping off your 4th base to attack each other. It can be a real map where, like, the middle is big enough with a good enough concave, Lurkers aren't abusive, but if you aren't keeping tabs on your opponent's army and suddenly Lurkers are at these chokes, the ones we see broken down here, the shared natural between Garage Door and Lamb Sauce, like that's when, like, you're like, oh shit, like I can't actually get out of the situation. But that's hopefully not going to happen. First of all, Lamb Sauce and Garage Door should be really patrolling around the map and just keeping tabs on their opponents, and they're exactly doing that. Garage Door with a drop is both doing damage and keeping tabs on his opponents, forcing the army back here as Lamb Sauce's Roaches attack the front, and Tesla's in a ton of trouble.
Yeah, this is a very powerful attack here coming out of Lamb Sauce here. Tesla trying to find a way to hang on. He's got the sentry count. He's going to force field some of these Roaches up into a half-decent position here, but he's got the sentries out at the front. They're taking the damage, and that's not what you want. Tugboat's going to come in and try to reinforce with this little Roach Hydra army, but there's not enough meat and DPS here to deal with what Lamb Sauce and Garage Door are throwing at him.
Really, he should have just said, like, okay, I need to get to Lurkers, so I'm sorry, Tesla, but you're going to have to die here. Because if his Lurkers are ready to go on the ramp, this could be a very different story. Like 6 of them, let's say, that could be something that holds, especially with force fields. But the distraction of the drop from Garage Door was really nice, and just simply put, their Lurkers weren't ready. And they're still not even ready. He's not going for them, but I think they're absolutely the right call. Okay, now he's trying to add them on. Seems like it's going to be too late.
Yeah, too little, too late. As Lamb Sauce and Garage Door charge into this main, and they're going to be looking to put one on the board, help get Washington back into this series. Tugboat's trying to buy some time for his teammate here at the bottom of the ramp, but I think Lamb Sauce and Garage Door know that Tesla is potentially the deadlier part of this equation, and they're just trying to steamroll over him.
Yep. Whew. I mean, some of these games are as expected, you know. The first game, Suppy winning, sure. This game, I really like the 2v2 team for Washington, so that's not too big of a surprise, even though Tesla's very good. It was really Zeal versus Tesla that would have been, I think, the decider. And even though we see the comeback here, it's not going to be a 3-0 for Temple University. It's still, in my eyes, an uphill battle. As next up's going to be Center Wall versus Lamb Sauce, the guy we're seeing right here, right now, really powering this 2v2.
Yeah, I mean, Tesla does manage to survive for the moment here. Tugboat has lurkers, so that can buy a decent amount of time, and Tugboat is just about maxed out here. But I still feel like Temple really going to struggle to do anything here in this map. Which, just with the drops that Garage Door has, he can be absolutely everywhere. Lamb Sauce can afford to split his army up a bit, and Tugboat right now is kind of responsible for defending everything.
Yeah. Which, you know, his composition works out well. If he can set his lurkers in really great positions, and maybe Tesla even kind of just admits he's going to be the one lagging behind and just goes for a lot of observers, uses Blink Stalkers to get control over the map, he could help his teammates, like, very, very good composition when out here. But it looks like a bit of miscommunication as one person recalls, the other one tries to move in, but really should just be entirely evacuating, only evacuates half of his army. Complete disaster.
Yeah, and he's actually going to go for a run by here. That is going to trap him inside these bases. The lurkers are covering the potential retreat path here. But with scans, that position could be broken pretty easily because it's just naked lurkers.
I like that he got out of scan. Maybe there wouldn't be a second one. Maybe there won't be an observer. And there wasn't an overseer, sorry, but there was a second scan. So not going to have the Hail Mary lurkers, and this is going to be it, I believe. Lamb Sauce, at the very least, should be able to counter, and Garage Doors, his production's still fine.
Yeah, Tesla's going for the Hail Mary of that Dark Shrine, and I do like it. What else are you going to do in this position? Maybe if you can snipe out all the detection, you know that you forced out scans with the lurkers, and then 6 DTs can just do massive damage to a retreating Roach Hydra army here, but I don't even think Tesla really has the resources to get these DTs out in time to do anything.
Yeah. Good call. If you're the guy that's dying, then go for those weird DTs, maybe surprise Banshees. Yeah, I don't know what Zerg would do. Surprise Broodlords, I don't know, but it's a good call. Just as everything has just been too late here. I think Tesla, unfortunately, you know, even from the very first attack, it was like, you know, maybe he didn't do enough. Maybe this really pushes him back. And then the combo attack before his teammates' lurkers were ready, well, that felt like it kind of sealed the deal. And I mean, being kind of stubborn here, trying to save his last TT, but it's really game over. I gotta imagine Tesla is asking Heartbeat, like, hey, do you think you can win this? And Heartbeat's on 4 bases. He's like, okay, maybe, but really, if he knew what we knew, I don't think so.
And it's always hard, especially in a 2v2. It's tough to know what your opponents have behind all this. I think that might be part of the reason Tesla's going for this Stalker run by. Just get a sense, is it worth Heartbeat staying in? Trying to make something happen here, and realistically it's not, but it can still feel like it, right? He has a relatively untouched 4-base economy. He's got Hive coming up. He could be going up for those Broodlords. We see the Spire coming down, but it's just really a tough spot for the Temple team.
Yeah, it looks like some mercy shown to Tesla as they let his natural base survive, which I feel like this is a 4v4. They would regret that, but in a 2v2, it's probably still okay. He's still crippled enough.
Yeah, scans do come down to reveal these lurkers of Tugboat. That is going to force Lamb Sauce back for now. He doesn't want to overcommit and throw a potentially advantageous position, but I think, honestly, this army could overpower the lurker positions, especially once you walk those tanks up to add DPS from behind.
Tanks, Liberators, perfect choice from Garage Door. Lamb Sauce would have had a little bit more difficulty going head-to-head, lurkers to lurkers. They could just be a stalemate, but Tanks and Liberators are going to be able to cut it here. And that's eventually will be it. Really, Heartbeat would have to just try and get some counter damage done, which he's trying to do. Like, good thought process here. Or he's trying to help clean up his opponent's base. Okay, he's trying to survive. The last building zooming down for Tesla.
Yeah, he does have this single assimilator left kicking, but Tesla just about wiped out here. Heartbeat's going for a run by, trying to buy himself some breathing room, but this is a 2-on-1 situation, and getting those tanks is nice.
Yeah, I did not expect that. There was a lack of scan as Lamb Sauce's lurkers were there as well, and that's it. GG.
GG is called. Washington puts one on the board. And that's going to take us to our next match here, which is going to be, it's the final 1v1 before the ace. That's going to be Centaur and Lamb Sauce is going to make a return showing. So we'll catch that right after this break.
But she said, trust me, these are the stories we will tell. As I stood frozen, infinite, I almost fell. But I got a feeling and my heart starts beating, a sudden rush of feeling alive. This is freedom and I won't change, I won't phase out. I know.
Hello and welcome back to the CSL. We are getting ready to jump into our fourth match of the evening. Temple leads 2-1 and we're going to be hopping into a TVZ here on a Biogenesis.
TV's here. That's still an appropriate way to put it. Yeah, so this is going to be what decides if we get to the ace match. Center wall, his team's in the lead. Lamb Sauce just had a really great 2v2. He's in form. Biogenesis, though, is a very scary map for any party. Obviously, if it was a PVZ, I'd say it's scary for the Protoss, but TVZ, it's just like both players are going to be very on guard for aggression.
Well, spawning here in the top left-hand corner, it is the Green Terran player for Temple, Centaur.
In the bottom right, as the purple Zerg, it is Lamb Sauce.
Now, one thing I do want to point out about Centaur, I think it's incredibly important, especially because of the map we were talking about. He's known as a really cheesy player, and he will sometimes beat players like above his caliber just because the builds he does are crazy and they've never seen anything like it. He almost took a map off oh, I forget who it was, but it was one of those really high caliber, like high GM Terrans, because he built a barracks, a factory, and a starport in his opponent's third on oh god, what's the map where you have the pocket third?
Neon Violet Square.
Neon Violet Square. Yep.
Gotcha.
So he just threw a 1-1-1 down there, and it almost worked. So I would be on the lookout for some cheekiness out of him.
Okay, that's a very good thing to know then. And I'm sure Lamb Sauce has done a little bit of homework to know that. It must be very scary in Apogenesis, where 2-racks definitely could come in, but I would say that I see less 2-racks on this map. Maybe it's like a little too on the nose for such a short map, and I definitely see more like Cyclone Hellion pushes, Cyclone Hellbat pushes. It kind of emphasis on the Cyclone. The Hellbat pushes can end the game, but they're a little figured out, where these Cyclone adaptations have really been throwing off the best of the best. Even just adding 2 suddenly make Queen defense a lot harder. They make Roach defense not simply as easy as microing them, and they do provide that safety as well, because you just painted a big picture of Centaur Wall being aggressive. Lamb Sauce, just because he's not known for being the cheesiest little Zerg ever, like, doesn't mean that he can't throw out a Ling Bust, Nidus Worm, although I feel like this is why you bother Nidus Worm, just go for the attack, right? But he can do it. Like, at any point, Centaur Wall is also going to be kind of on guard.
Yeah, now it is nice for Lamb Sauce that he's going to see all this production at the top of the ramp. He knows that it's not proxy anything. And at the same time, this first Reaper going to come in, maybe get a drone here. No, good use of the Spore Crawler. And Centaur Wall actually needs to be careful. He's got to get out of there.
Mm-hmm. All looking above board so far, but now things get a little more interesting with the starport coming down. What does that lead to? Raven, Banshee, etc. And then, around the time as well is going to be like, is it an armor or not? Fortunately, Sitsawa has messed up on his macro a little tiny bit. I can almost guarantee he rushed his SCVs into the second gas geyser because he was microing his Reaper. So he's at 5 out of 3. Oh, he rallied his command center into it. Ooh, and he's not building SCVs continuously. Ooh, boy. Kind of showing that maybe he's a little bit rusty.
Yeah, he did manage to clean up all 4 of those Lings, but probably not worth the mistakes that he's making back at home. He is going to start that SCV production back up. Second Orbital finishing up, so maybe he can kind of catch back up with those mules a bit here. But Lamb Sauce already got his 3rd on the way, doing it quite comfortably.
And the Marine is almost like unnecessary. There's still a bunch of question marks for Lamb Sauce, but there's a couple of things that really can like alert him to highly possible builds. Already he's probably on guard about the whole armory thing because of what you were just talking about. His second upload, by the way, coming in, that's going to see everything. But you see no tech up on the barracks means that it's going to be a medevac or a liberator, and then it also means like if they get Marines, if they get more than 1 or 2, like it's highly like it's an armory, even if you don't necessarily see it. But he sees literally everything, so that's also pretty good for Lamb Sauce, who's going to go for the Bailing defense with this, which I feel like it's an option, actually. I don't even want to say that much about it. Like, it is an option, and it'll probably be a fine option.
Yeah, so this first push out is going to come before any of that's done. So Centaur Wall going to be looking to get some of this early damage, and that Hellbat does, the conversion does start here. Lamb Sauce going to be trying to hang on with just Queens and Lings. It's going to be really important to see how Centaur Wall decides to engage here.
So I was going to just bring up that the one scary thing about the Bailey Nest is that, one, it wasn't quite finished, and on such a small map that was really scary. But then, two, sometimes like the connections aren't that great. Hellbat splits are very good against this. Like, that makes sense, right? But the medevac is target fired. The Queens, while off of creep, look like they're going to buy enough time. This does an okay amount of damage, and would maybe even be a good amount of damage if Centaur Wall had perfect macro behind this, but I can guarantee he doesn't because he's not innovation. So I don't know if this is really what he was looking for. Lamb Sauce, realizing that he is going to clean this up, is just going to go back into droning. Maybe he should have done this a little bit sooner because his Queen's going to be okay with this, but he's back on it.
Yeah, and Centaur Wall kind of goes home with his tail between his legs here. If we take a look at the resources lost, it was a cost-effective attack. I mean, he forced out a lot of Lings. He was able to clean them up. But back at home, he's still not fully got all of his workers up. His economy's lagging a bit behind Lamb Sauce's here. And I don't know what his next punch is. I mean, the Cloaked Banshee is scouted, right? So probably not going to do that much damage.
A little bit. It's a little scouted. Finally, Cyclone's gonna come out to try and shoot that Overlord away, but the Marines obviously died in the attack, so just gotta deal with it. But the biggest reveal here is that Lamb Sauce sees there's no third CC, which actually just feels like a mistake. But maybe it is some type of new kind of all-in build with 3 factories first. Usually you do put a third CC behind the aggression and then very closely after that, 2 more factories. But he rushed the second factory and, well, you better hope a 2-base push does a lot of damage because it's very old-fashioned and it's very, very scouted.
Yeah, very scouted. Lamb Sauce is getting that Hydra Den up, which I really like as a response to this. He's going to have a lot of potential damage, especially if we can get a good concave on this. The army should be very deal-withable. Picking off some of these high-energy queens at the front is nice. They are trying to retreat back to that detection. But Centaur doing an okay job, considering he's been dealt a pretty bad hand, just by his own decisions here.
The 2-base push he's going for is a scary one indeed. I feel like I haven't seen the 2-base all-in version really since, oh man, that I was talking about this with like Fear Dragon a couple days ago, but the map that had 2 island bases that were just like covered by air blockers, Gettysburg something shit. New Gettysburg.
Yeah. where the units would just derp around.
Yes. Yeah, New Gettysburg was the last time I feel I really saw like Cyclone all-ins off of 2 bases really work. But Centaur was like bringing them back, and it could absolutely do work. Like +1 with Cyclones is amazing, but Lamb Sauce I felt had the right composition with Banelings and Lings. And then like a sprinkling of Hydras and Roaches. As long as the Banelings get some decent connections with the heart of the army, the Cyclones will also take splash here, and that's really good.
Yeah, Centaur was super committed to this. It's off 2 bases, even pulled SCVs. Lamb Sauce getting a great flank off here to try to get the best surround possible. Decent splits come out of Centaur and there's a lot of damage left with these Cyclones.
The Banelings are all trapped behind the Hydras, and I feel like that was actually a really important amount of like 6 or 7 Banelings. That would have added so much more splash. That would have taken out the Hellbats a little bit quicker, so the Hydras could help take down out the Cyclones. Instead, things flip, and Lamb Sauce might have just died here. He's got 8 more Hydras on the way, and a lot of Lings, which are often the real kicker against Cyclones, but he's losing so much economy, and if Centaur wins this, that's actually it for the team tournament. Like, that's something advancing.
Yeah, and even the SCVs being super helpful here, just repairing these Cyclones, keeping them alive. And Centaur did a massive amount of damage. He knocked his opponent's economy back into the Stone Age. I'm not sure if he's gonna feel comfortable wanting to push in. He might not know that the Baneling count is super low still, so he's just gonna kind of shark around on the outside here. And Lamb Sauce gonna hope he can find a way to hang on.
Yeah. Team war is what I was looking for, like a clan war, by the way. But when it's on the derp, it's gonna be the end of this clan war, I think. Like, the Cyclones are just too beefy. That's a bit of an upset, Like, I thought it was gonna be the ace match, and while I still thought Temple was going to win with Suppi, instead it's Centaur bringing out the 2-base all-in.
Every single drone comes off the line as Temple moves on to the round of 4. GG is called, and Centaur clutches things out for his team and saves them from that ace match.
Yeah, no need to worry about that. Does definitely suck for the University of Washington, but congratulations to Temple who have advanced yet again. And what a what a good map to choose that build on. I was really uncertain with how well it was scouted too. I thought that even with the shortness of the map, the Zerg player would still have it, but those Banelings in the back, the kind of almost late Zerglings surround, there's so many things he had totally prepared. It's one of those games that you just pound the desk in frustration because I knew it was coming. I knew I had the defense, and yet I still lost to it.
Yeah, it almost felt like he was too clever by half, just going for the surround. Maybe just a big concave would have dealt with it better, but big shout out to Centaur. I mentioned at the start of the game he's a cheeky player, and he cheeked his team into the semifinals.
I don't know what that would be physically, but yes, he did cheek his way into the finals. So always a cool feeling to be that person.
Well, thank you guys for watching. We will be back not next week. The entire round of 4 and the finals will all be part of one final season broadcast here We don't have a hard date, but it's going to be, I believe, early in May. So be sure to follow CSL on Twitter, and you'll get the official date there as soon as it's announced. Thank you, everyone, and we will see you for the finals.
See ya.
Oh, we're out of time. The final call is called.